Network this trade proposal between the Cardinals and the Tigers. Randall Grichuk and Colton Wong to Detroit for J.D. Martinez and Ian Kinsler. What do you make of that?
I think that is being very optimistic about the Cardinals' 2017 chances to contend is probably the best way to put it. I'm not against the idea of the Cardinals being buyers, or at least not being sellers. I think people kind of want them to. There's always this extreme notion that they either have to just go out and get the best player they can or sell off all the assets. Like the Cardinals aren't really that type of team. They're always kind of trying to be in perpetual contention. So you don't necessarily have to just go sell everybody or just try to do everything to buy all in. That's the issue with this trade. Listen, does this make the Cardinals probably a little bit better in 2017? Yeah, maybe a little bit better. And listen, there's an argument to be maybe made that you try to floor it that way. The Cubs are struggling. The Brewers are a year early. The problem is the Cardinals don't make these type of trades for a reason. The reason that they don't is they don't have the payroll of the Cubs. They don't have the farm system that the Brewers have right now. If they do a trade like this, you better win in 2017, which it really shows a lot more faith than maybe you should have in the team that's currently 4 games under 500 or right around certainly has not been over 500 for a long time this season. Yeah, if you're going to make this trade, you better be certain you're going for it this year because it's going to make you worse in 2018 and probably worse in years behind that. I think if the Cardinals had showed a little bit more this year, I might be more prone to do a trade like that. But I don't know. To me, Colton Wong in particular, I know his injuries have been frustrating. But when he's played this year, he's been terrific. Mm-hmm. That's the type of guy that you do need to build around in years moving forward, rather than getting older players, kind of putting yourselves, frankly, in that Detroit position of kind of loading in all on one spot for one last year. And next thing you know, you kind of fall off the cliff.
All right, then, Will, let's say the Cardinals are buyers here at the trade deadline or preparing, at least in the next couple of weeks, to make some major changes on the roster or maybe just some tweaks. Who is that one player not currently on the roster that you would love to see the Cardinals target?
You get a couple ideas. If you want to make the big trade, if you really want to make the big full trade, and let's say you've lost a little faith in Alex Reyes, or you've got some of those other younger pitchers that are coming in, the Flahertys that are coming in, and you feel like maybe they can come in and take that spot of that top shelf starter. Maybe that's when you look and see if the Blue Jays are willing to make a move on Donaldson. I think that that's a move I can understand for the Cardinals because the thing the Cardinals lineup needs, they're like I like a J.D. Martinez, but he is not a top shelf guy. Josh Donaldson's a top shelf guy. And if you're going to make that move, that to me makes a lot of sense. Also, Donaldson, frankly, temperamentally seems a perfect fit for St. Louis. Not to say that you can really do the McGuire thing anymore where you just talk them into loving the Cardinals fans and have them stay. But certainly with the money the Cardinals are going to have with their new cable deal, you might be able to get him comfortable in St. Louis and re-sign him. Donaldson is a game-changing bat in a way that no other bat really is. If the Blue Jays are willing to make that trade, the Cardinals, I think, should certainly get in on that because not only, of course, does it help you in 2017, it helps you in 2018, and that helps the rest of the lineup around them. I don't think they're going to make that ambitious of a move. I can see them more doing the kind of side bullpen moves that you see going after some of the loose bullpen arms you might see around. I don't think maybe you wouldn't see a David Robertson, but you look for a team like the Phillies. Maybe you bring in Pat Neshek, a former Cardinals a former Cardinals All-Star. Maybe you do something like that. I don't think there's going to be middle moves. I think there'll be either little tiny moves like the Neshek move or big moves like the Donaldson move. Though, frankly, the way this team is played up and down all over the place and the way that John Mozeliak has spoken, I wouldn't be surprised if they really don't do much of anything. I think that this is the team they have. And even though the Cubs are struggling and the Brewers are not quite there, I'm not willing to put a ton of chips or all the chips on the table on this particular team.
Your suggested trades and just what you're saying about this team reminds me a lot of 2011. And look, if it ends up like 2011, that's great because that ended up with a World Series championship. But I just don't know. And I'm trying to remember how I felt at this stage of the 2011 season. But I remember not being all that wild about the acquisitions of Dotel and Zepchinski and others like that, especially Colby Rasmus.
Furious. Yes, I was furious with that trade, and I was furious with that team beforehand. But, of course, that's a fallacy. Like, yes, true, the Cardinals made that Colby Rasmus trade that turned out to shore up their bullpen, and Colby Rasmus turned out to not be the superstar that everyone kind of thought he was going to be at that time. That said, the Cardinals fans always this is just like 2006. Hey, just get in the playoffs and we'll get hot. Sure, it happened that year, right. But generally speaking, the Cardinals have been blessed with such good fortune over the last decade that we think we can do it again. We saw this in 2016 too. Last year, I thought, wow, this is the most frustrating year since 2011. So, hey, we're going to win the World Series this year. And it doesn't actually turn out that way. This year feels actually, frankly, a little bit more frustrating than 2016 because the team is worse. And also the division's there to be had. If think of this year's team was like last year's team, the team that frustrated the Cardinals fans so much. That team was like 8 or 9 games over 500 right now. We'd be in first place and feeling like we got in control of the division. The fact that this team is taking such a step back makes it even more frustrating because the division is there to be had. So yes, we are conditioned as Cardinals fans to think it's all going to work out. 2011 was so frustrating, it worked out. 2006, so frustrating, it worked out. Maybe, but for most teams, it doesn't actually turn out that way.